And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, everybody, to JeffLightsyJr. Thank you guys for joining me once again on Victory Formation. We have our special guest today, Mr. Mo Carter of Fox 54 in Huntsville, also a proud Southern alum. And Mo, it has been a week for the Southern Jaguars, as we learned this week that they have fired Coach Terrence Graves after just a season and a half. In 2024, Coach Graves went 8-5, but he started off this year with a 1-6 record and a 24-3 blowout loss on homecoming in the torrential downpour. And it was like God was crying because he saw the Southern Jaguars get stomped out on homecoming. I hate to do it like that, Mo, but that's what it was. Coach Tremaine Jackson and Prairie View went into Baton Rouge and handed Southern a tail whooping, and Coach Graves was let go because of the start. Just being an alum, being someone who covers the SWAC, just what were your thoughts on Southern letting Coach Graves go midway through the season?
Well, being an alum, clearly I kind of saw this coming. Unfortunately, Southern right now is 1-6, and it's their worst start in over 40-something years. You got to go back to like the early 1970s to even see something of that nature happen. And, and like I said, and it's unfortunate. I played football at Southern University. Coach Terrence Graves was my defensive coordinator, so I have a very good relationship with him on and off the field. But unfortunately, things just were not going in the favor of the Jaguars this season. A couple of blowout losses at home, against the elites of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. When you're the team that was selected to be the preseason favorite and repeat as the Western Division champion, just not happening this year. Like I said, it's unfortunate in most cases. Of course, I wish Coach Graves the best, and I know he's going to, do well moving forward. But at the same time, Roman Banks, the athletic director, and his staff, they had to make a change, and that change was made earlier in the week. And now Fred McNair will be the interim coach for the remaining of the season, as a national search will move on to see who will be the next guy to lead the Jaguars following the Bayou Classic.
Now, Mo, just what went wrong? Like you said, Southern went 8-5 last year. Coach Graves had a good season last season, and as you just pointed out, they were one of the preseason favorites in the SWAC. Just how did the bottom fall out like this?
There's a lot of things that you can kind of really look at. I'll go and remain professional with this one. I don't want to give you the locker room talk or anything, but honestly, a lot of it really just came down to execution. I mean, sure, at the end of the day, coaches will put players in position to make plays, but the players don't make those plays, then it goes back on the coaches in those scenarios. You can look at the offensive inefficiency with Jalen Woods not being out of the mix due to concussions. That offense looks completely different compared to when Cam McCoy and Strother have been the QBs. And I mean, not taking anything away from them, but at the same time, they just have not been effective. Trey Holly has done the best he could when he can break out, but at the same time, when you stuff 8, 9 guys in the box and basically telling the offense, look, y'all gonna have to beat us more than just Trey Holly runs, it becomes a difficult situation. And then, of course, like I said, the crucial plays not happening, the crucial games not being won by the Jaguars, and you just really spiral down into what the situation occurred. And right now, they're 1-6 going into a game against Florida A&M.
Now, you brought up the interim coach, Coach Fred McNair. He is someone who knows the SWAC really well and actually has been a very, very successful head coach in his own right during his time at Alcorn, SWAC champion, all kinds of things. Is this kind of, from what you're hearing or maybe what is this kind of like a tryout period for the last 5 games of the season? Could Fred McNair ultimately end up removing the interim tag and becoming the permanent head coach at Southern?
From what I've seen at Southern University the last few years, it's possible, but I can't actually say that this is a guaranteed situation just because of the talks you kind of hear from, notable alumni and other folks that are even closer to the ground in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In his press conference on Tuesday, Fred McNair said, clearly he wants the Jags to win and he'll worry about everything else, moving forward in that situation. Of course, he was a Hall of Fame player, and then he turned around and became a great coach at Alcorn State, his own alma mater. He's the original Eric McNair before his brother. So with that being said, it's one of those things where it could be in consideration, but I can't sit here and tell you that's going to be the case if the administration wants to make a change and really, really do its due diligence with a national search.
Why now? Why after just 1.5 seasons do you let go of Coach Graves?
According to Roman Banks, it's more of a, hey, just right now, it's just not working. And they had to find a way to make some sort of leadership change. Usually you change coordinators. And that's what happened early on in the season, in which Mark Fredericks, he was, the OC, and then they moved McNair to the coordinating situation. Well, still, things did not go in the way they thought it was going to go. And now they had to go ahead and just make a change at the head coaching position or whatever with that. And I'm not saying that if you're an admin, you didn't hear the noise, but for Roman Banks, who's a former SWAC championship head basketball coach, he sees the product, and he decided, along with his staff, that they needed to make a change and try to just make a swift change as you move forward, especially with the ever-changing flow of NCAA college football.
Yes. And once again, we're talking to Mo Carter of Fox 54 down there in Huntsville, also Southern football alum. So Mo, he covers the SWAC. He knows Southern in and out. And this will be my last thing on Coach Graves and the Southern situation. I don't know, man. I just am so shocked at how the season has played out, the 2025 season. I just did not see the bottom falling out like this for Southern. And obviously, I believe that Coach McNair is coaching for the permanent position. I believe if he finishes the last 5 games of the season, they will strongly consider him. That's just my thoughts. It's not me reporting. It's just what I believe. But if they decide to move on from Coach McNair, who are some of the names that you think could be in contention for that Southern head coaching job?
All right, so look, because I have a relationship with a lot of coaches.
I know I don't want to put you in a tricky spot, Mo. I get it. My bad.
I don't want to get in trouble or whatever, get a text message from somebody. Here's what I'll say I think they're looking for next. All right, consider this. You look at some of the successful coaches right now in HBCU football, the Chennis Berries of the world, the Trey Olivers of the world at NC Central, Eddie Robinson Jr., T.C. Taylor, now Tremaine Jackson at Prairie View. What are those guys doing well? Not only do they have great players who are showing out on the field, but they're also doing good with character and player development while also understanding the ever-changing flow of the NCAA, as I made mention, with NIL and doing all those things. So I really think that the next person who's going to be the head football coach in Baton Rouge and running out the top of the A.W. Mumford Stadium, Pete Richardson Field, it's going to have to be somebody that totally understands all phases of it, because, hey, we are paying players with NIL and things of that nature, but at the same time, you're going to need someone who understands that it's one of the best jobs in HBCU football and FCS football in general, but it's also very, very demanding, and Jaguar Nation will turn on you quick, fast, and hurry if the results are not going. That person will also have to understand that, hey, you're going to go up against the likes of the Alabama States and the Jackson States and the Gramblings and Florida A&Ms, and you got to do your due diligence and, be competitive, win some of those games, because I feel right now just winning like the Bayou Classic isn't enough to basically keep your job anymore in that situation. I mean, Coach Graves did a pretty good job doing that, but it's got to be another step further with that, because sure, Southern has won division titles, but you're looking at a Southern squad that has not won a SWAC championship since 2013 when Coach Dawson Odoms led the squad to a victory over Jackson State in overtime.
And what you mentioned in there, right there, once again, we're talking to Mo Carter, Fox 54. You mentioned that Southern is one of the premier jobs in all of HBCU football. If someone from the outside, talk to me like I'm a novice. Why is Southern such a good job? We know it's in the city of Baton Rouge, which is bigger than most of the SWAC schools. We know the history and the tradition, but why now a school that just fired their coach in his second season, a school that also fired Eric Dooley in the middle of the season? Why is that a premier job in the SWAC and all of HBCU football?
Well, take a look at it like this. Southern University is along the golf course, along that I-10 corridor. So think about the recruiting that you'll be able to do. You can recruit in Baton Rouge. You can head down I-10 East and go to New Orleans, where there's a lot of talent going on over there. You can also head 3 to 4 hours west and go to Houston and just be in the state of Texas, where there's a lot of talent there. And as I mentioned, beyond all that, Alabama, the Mobile area has a lot of talent. Mississippi has a lot of talent. Florida has a lot of talent. There are large alumni bases in Dallas, Texas, and also Atlanta, Georgia. So there are Jaguar supporters here, there, and everywhere who can really, really put you in a good position to, recruit some players and also understand that they got your back here, there, and everywhere with that. Of course, facilities are pretty solid. It's a beautiful campus located on the banks of the Mississippi River in Baton Rouge. It is the capital city. When it comes to the SWAC schools, it's one of the larger populated cities within, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, behind Houston and I'm trying to think. Really, yeah, really behind Houston. You just think about it.
Maybe Tallahassee, maybe.
Maybe Tallahassee, give or take, or what. They might be about what and what in that situation. But so clearly, it's one of those things. Lots of you mentioned lots of tradition and things of that nature. I'll be selfish, just say, hey, the tailgates is always good too. You always will eat good in all sorts of places. But I mean, like I said, it is a solid job. It's just a pressure filled job, and also. Nowadays it's not what have you done in the past? It's more of what have you done for us lately?
Yes, absolutely. Now, Mo, I couldn't get you out of here without talking about the Magic City Classic. I know you'll be covering it for Fox 54 there in Huntsville. We have Sam Shade at Alabama A&M right there in Huntsville. I think he's been impressive in year one. They're taking over for the Bulldogs. And then you have Big Bad Bama State. They've been rolling. They had a setback. They need some help the rest of the way. But they've had a tremendous season with quarterback Andrew Body, under head coach Eddie Robinson Jr. What are your expectations for the Magic City Classic this year? The biggest HBCU rivalry game, or maybe, I don't know. It's one of the biggest. It's Magic City Classic gets some of the most highest attended HBCU game in all of HBCU football, typically year in and year out.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. As someone who's played in the Bayou Classic, I'm basically will say Bayou Classic, Magic City Classic, it literally is 1A, 1B. Economic impacts are just about the same. The amount of fans that flock into either the Caesars Superdome or Legion Field is just about the same. The main difference, though, is that Magic City Classic, they got the tailgate. That tailgate is second to none. Bayou Classic, it's really not so much a tailgate situation, but you're right there in downtown New Orleans, and you got Champion Square and Bourbon Street and everything else or whatever. But that's a little bit further on. As far as the Magic City Classic, we got coverage this upcoming week right here on Fox 54. Unfortunately, I won't be covering it. My weekend guy will, because I'll actually be in Baton Rouge for the Southern FAMU game on SWAC TV, doing play-by-play with that. But
there we go.
But as far as Magic City Classic, Sam Shade definitely has come in and, he has turned some heads. He's doing some good things. And now it's just a matter of, this is the game that everybody always asks any A&M person about, especially if you're a coach, and that is the Magic City Classic against the arch rival Alabama State University. Shade told me on Monday he's got to put his 20-year relationship and friendship with Eddie Robinson Jr. to the side for about 4 hours, because he understands that he's got to find a way to get a victory. Also, he's got to find a way to end the streak. Alabama State has won 4 straight. Eddie Rob has not lost a game as the Alabama State head football coach since he has, been here. And now Coach Sam Shade, he's trying to end that streak against Eddie Robinson Jr. for Alabama A&M. Now, also, Coach Shade, he's very, very familiar with the game. He grew up going to Magic City Classic because he's a Birmingham native. He also played in Legion Field multiple times with the University of Alabama, including when the Iron Bowl used to be played at Legion Field, and also the first SEC football championship when his backfield mate on the defense, Antonio Langham, made the pick six that changed all of college football. So he's excited about returning to Legion Field. But at the end of the day, the main thing is this. They've got to get offensive production. If Quad Brown is ready to go, he's going to have to, play a pretty spectacular game. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they've got to find a way to contain Andrew Body. You can't stop that guy. Like, he is by far one of the best players in the entire FCS. So you have to find a way to contain him, maybe get him into some mistake situations or whatever, because he's still trying to show out in really his first true season as a full-time starter with Alabama State. So that's going to be some of the main things we want to take a look at it. And of course, he's told his players, You know what the deal is. You know how big this game is. You know how many people are going to be rooting against you and how many people are going to be rooting for you. Just be on the right side of being rooting for you if you can get that victory. And that's definitely going to be something to be thought about when you're a player. But at the end of the day, man, execution really has to come down from Alabama A&M. They've got to find consistency on the offense, whether it's Quad Brown or it's Eric Hanley, running the show at QB1. We'll see what happens when it comes to game time decisions on that. But Magic City Clash is certainly, one of those things where I can say, if you have not experienced one, make your way down to Birmingham at some point in time and check it out near the end of October. It's good weather, it'll be a little warm during the day and then cool at night. And as they say, good football weather in the sense, but also a great atmosphere. And folks are going to be able to check that out on Saturday, either in person or you can check it out on ESPN Plus with our good friends Jay Walker and Tiffany Green.
That is Mo Carter. I appreciate you, Mo. Thank you, as always, for stopping in with me, letting us know what's going on with Southern and checking in on the Magic City Classic. That is Mo Carter. My name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. I'll be right back after the break. Appreciate it, Mo.